Chapter 12 From the Office of Dr. Chimpstone. Later that night, back at the Field of Dreams, we told Dodger about the whole adventure. How Lizzie had half run, half swam her way through the swamp, got in the carpet just in time, and swooped in to pick me up, just as Tyler's dad had come outside to see what all the racket was. How the dad had said, "All right, killer, down, slash, relax, Muffy. If you give me a minute, I'll take you for a nice walk. Stay here, Tyler." And how as soon as Daddy was gone, we had delivered the cell phone, as promised. I think Dodger, I think Dodger especially liked the part where we told Tyler that Craigie Wedgie had sent us. Dudes, that is awesome. No, that's better than awesome. That's like made of awesome. It went just as I planned, too. Lizzie and I just rolled our eyes at each other and walked out of the woods towards home. In my backyard, I realized that I was shoeless, scratched up and smeared all over with swampy muck. I didn't want my parents to see me in this state, so I tiptoed through the door, crept up the stairs, and eased my way along the wall to the bathroom. I turned the corner and reached for the light switch. A hand covered mine. I stifled a scream and flipped the switch. Amy was standing there, in her PJs, with her Sherlock hat firmly in place. "Aha!" she said triumphantly. I'm not sure Amy totally bought my story about how Lizzie and I had been abducted by swamp-dwelling aliens from the planet Merg, but she did get out of the bathroom without making a commotion, which allowed me to take a shower before my parents figured out I was home. Some days, that's the best a brother can hope for. When Lizzie and I got off the school bus the next morning, Craig was waiting for us. He shook my hand so hard that I thought he might rip it off and actually hugged Lizzie. "Thank you," he whispered. "My brother had a horrible dream last night. When my phone rang, I was so relieved. I kept thinking, what if he hadn't been able to call me? What if—" James Beeks interrupted our touching little scene. "Craig," he hissed, "what are you doing? You're hugging the enemy?" "Just relax, James, okay? It's an election, not World War III, Lizzie said. "Shows how much you know," James snapped. "There hasn't even been a World War III. Now, Craig, step away from this stupid, ugly—" Suddenly Craig moved so fast that he was a blur. James fell to the ground, clutching his face. Then Craig was standing next to me, breathing hard and shaking his fingers through the air. "That hurt," he said. James looked up and said, "You think it hurt you?" His hands fell to his side, and I could see that the area around his right eye was already swelling massively where Craig had just punched it. Then the teacher in charge of the bus lines came over, took one look at James, and sent all four of us to the office. This was terrible. After all we had done the night before to get Tyler's cell phone to his house, now Craig would get suspended and lose his cell phone. It was almost enough to make me wish James hadn't gotten punched in the eye. Almost. The secretary stuck us in a little back room that connected to the principal's office, warned us to behave, and closed the door. I stared at Craig. Craig stared at Lizzie. Lizzie stared at James. James rubbed his eye. Then Lizzie said, "Hey, look, the initials CF are carved on my chair." Without looking up, James said, "Duh, Craig's initials are carved on every chair in this room, right, Craig?" Craig said, "Look, James, I'm sorry I punched you, but why do you have to be so mean all the time?" James didn't answer. Craig sighed and said, "Oh man, I don't believe this. Now my mom's going to take away my cell phone for sure." Lizzie said, "Maybe not. Hey James, if Craig gets suspended, you won't have a running mate, right? And then you'll probably have to forfeit the election." James snarled, "I'm not going to forfeit the election. I refuse. Black eye or not, I can still whoop your geeky weirdo butt. So, as I was saying, it would be good for you if we found a way to let Craig off the hook." "Let him off the hook? He punched me. Plus, why should you want him to get away with this? If he gets suspended, you win." "Yes," Lizzie said, "but I'd rather win this thing fair and square. Also, Craig did something that really made me happy." "What did he do that was so great?" James asked. "He punched you," Lizzie said, smiling sweetly. "Now the way I see it, we could say that Willie punched you." "No way," James interjected. "Or maybe it would be better if we said that I punched you. Me get punched by a girl? Who would believe that?" Lizzie chuckled. "I know a lot of people who would have no trouble at all believing that." "Well, I won't do it. No way will I say that either of you gave me this black eye. Then Craig spoke up. Guys, don't worry about it. I punched James, and I'll take the punishment. I mean, it's no big deal. I just realized something anyway. I don't need my cell phone for Tyler to call me. As long as he has his cell phone, he can just call my house. It's not the end of the world. Besides, I never really wanted to be vice president anyway. I only agreed to run so James' parents wouldn't think he was a failure. That's enough, James said. Fine, I'll just go in there and say I didn't see anything. The rest of you can say whatever the heck you want. Just be quiet about me and my parents, Craig. I mean it. Craig nodded. Then the principal door opened. Her name is Dr. Whistleblower. I had never been sent to her office before, but I knew she was a scary lady. Mostly she just hid in her office, but I'd heard stories. Some kids said she had a pet cobra that she kept in the bottom drawer of her desk. Others said the candy on her little office table was made of truth serum, and that if you ate even one piece, you'd be willing to rat out your own mother. And this one second grader who hangs out with my sister swears that she once saw Dr. Whistleblower on a daytime TV talk show about people with violent personality disorders. According to this kid, Dr. W was throwing chairs around the set, shouting, "You want a piece of me?" Watching Dr. W now as she cracked her knuckles and gave us the evil eye, I had no trouble believing that last story. I don't know how long it usually takes for a kid to crack in that office, but I'm proud to say that even after maybe 20 minutes of threats, bribe offers, and out-and-out blackmail, none of us told Dr. Whistleblower anything. She had just announced that if we didn't talk, she would have to suspend us all when I heard poof. Dodger appeared behind her. He was holding his blue telephone in one hand and a spray bottle labeled Essence of Belief in the other. Craig and James didn't react at all, of course, because they couldn't see Dodger. But Lizzie looked at me with panic in her eyes. Dodger smiled at us and mouthed, "Don't worry, dudes. I've got this under control." Then he sprayed the air in front of Dr. Whistleblower's face. I put my head in my hands. I couldn't bear to see what happened next. When Dr. W's phone rang a moment later, I must have jumped about 3 feet. She picked it up and said, "Hello, this is Dr. Whistleblower." I looked up. Dodger's lips were moving, but I couldn't hear the words. Dr. W sat up straighter in her chair, covered the mouthpiece of her phone, and said, "Oh, it's the State Department of Education. They're calling about your case." Dodger gave us a thumbs-up sign. I swear I almost fainted. "Yes, Dr. Chimpstone. I'm honored that you're calling me today. Yes, of course I'll put us on speakerphone." Now Dodger's voice was coming through the phone speaker. He said, "Guess what, dude? Lady dude." Dr. W looked puzzled but said, "What? State dude? This is your lucky day. Here at the State Department of Education's Division of Complicated and Pointless Paperwork, Triplicate Filings Division, we invented a new suspension form, and you've been selected as the very first principal in the entire state who gets to use it. And we understand you will get to fill it out 4 times. This will be great. Unfortunately, the computer version isn't quite ready yet, but that's all right. I hope you have a lot of pens handy." Oh, come on, Dodger, I thought. You sound like a half surfer, half school boss. And a handwritten form? Dr. W is an intelligent professional educator. With or without magic belief spray, there's no way she's going to buy your act. I'm sure my secretary has plenty of pens she can use to fill out your new form, Dr. Chimpstone. Okay, maybe she was buying it. Dodger threw back his head and laughed. "Oh, that's a good one. I knew you were like totally an impressive law and order principal. But I didn't know you also had such an excellent sense of humor. I'm sure you're familiar with Regulation G9, which clearly states that all suspension paperwork must be personally filled in by the principal herself in triplicate. So that's 13 forms you need to fill out for the 4 students in front of you. Actually, sir, 4 times 3 is 12.